A good evening and welcome to KUTV Prime Time News on Thursday, the 25th day of the month of August, a day which will be quite memorable to governors who are sworn in all over the country, 45 in number, except the two who are supposed to be revealed later by the electorate on the elections which will be held on the 29th of August. A lot we have for you in our stories tonight, but first, let's get a load of tonight's top stories. We are optimistic Supreme Court will uphold Ruto's win, says Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula. Left hand on the Constitution, right hand on the Holy Book, as 45 governors are sworn in all over the country. Elected members of parliament attend orientation at the National Assembly. And in business, Kenya Airways subsidiary Fahari Aviation scales up use of drone technology for agriculture. A warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is Emmanuel Kutosi, and the sign language interpretation will be sailing through with Moses Gitonga. Thursday night primetime news begins now. Johnson Arthur Sakaja has taken oath of office as the new Nairobi governor. Sakaja took the oath of office at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC, Nairobi, at a ceremony attended by President-elect William Samoei Arap Ruto.
Sakaja Arthur Johnson, do swear that I shall always truly and diligently serve the people and the Republic of Kenya.
Nairobi's new governor, Honorable Johnson Sakaja, was today sworn in at KICC Nairobi, where he took his oath into office in the presence of many Nairobians and politicians, including the president-elect.
Now hand over the County Coat of Arms.
The former governor, Anne Kananu, handed over power to him in the ceremony, which was overseen by Lady Justice Roslyn Aburili. In his very brief speech, the deputy governor expressed his readiness to work with other elected leaders to ensure that the promises made during the campaigns are fulfilled. Likewise, Governor Johnson Sakaja gave a Thanksgiving speech where he said he would want everyone to put politics aside and make Nairobi work, assuring everyone that they could achieve the most for the county by working together. The president-elect assured the new governor that he will have all the support that he may need from the national government. He also encouraged the county government to work closely with the national government in order to bring Nairobi to a new level. He ended his speech by asking Kenyans to maintain calm as the electoral season draws to a close.
Swearing in, it is now official that Johnson Sakaja is the fourth governor of Nairobi County. Nairobians now hope that he'll be able to fulfill the promises that he made during the campaigns. Stephanie Alice reporting for KUTV.
Thank you, Stephanie Alice, for that candid report. Nairobi City now officially has an official occupant in the county top seat in the name of Johnson Arthur Sakaja and Deputy Governor James Mushiri. And as Cecilia Nyambura now lays it down, the capital's residents have expressed mixed reactions and expectation on the new county administration team.
Following the 2022,
I shall diligently discharge my duties and perform my functions in the said office, and that I will do justice to all.
Johnson Arthur Sakaja has officially started his tenure as the fourth governor of Nairobi County. Sakaja has officially been sworn in as the fourth governor alongside his deputy, James Njoroge Mushiri. Nairobians have expressed optimism with the new regime, hoping that few issues will be tackled, among them decongesting the city roads.
Jiji ni chafu. Ukiangalia jiji ni chafu kabisa. Tunahitaji gavana ambaye kwa kweli anashughulikia jiji liwe safi kabisa. Ukiangalia kama NMS wamejaribu, lakini hivi sasa tuna gavana mpya kabisa ambaye ni Sakaja. Tunataka jiji liwe safi kabisa, na pia hizo mambo na jam, maana yake kuna jam mingi sana Nairobi. Tuzidi kuondoa jam.
Upande wa Nairobi venye sisi mahoka huwa tunafanya kazi. Kama sasa hata mahali tunafanyia kazi ni country bus na ni nje kwa ukuta on the way New Pumwani Road. Tunaomba tuweze kuwekewa hata kama ni shade, ndio hata wakati wa mvua saa zile inanyesha tunawacha kuwa tukinyeshewa na mvua.
The Nairobi County residents have also expressed their contentment with Sakaja as their governor, saying that he's what the Nairobi County needs, while adding that the swearing ceremony was beyond their expectations.
Nashukuru Mungu sababu siku yetu imetimia na imefika. Tulikuwa tunataka Sakaja ndio kwa governor wetu, juu tunajua pande ya mayouth. Juu pia bado ni muyanga, atatukumbuka, haezi tusahau.
Nashukuru sana kupata governor mpya. We thank God that we have a good governor who will tackle the challenges of facing Nairobi County and Nairobi City.
With new leadership in Nairobi County, the city dwellers are rooting for immediate changes in service delivery in Nairobi County. Nyambura Kabura, KUTV.
Now, newly elected members of parliament in the 2022 general elections convened for a two-day orientation session at the National Assembly. Now, acting clerk Sarah Kioko had summoned the elected leaders to agree on some housekeeping matters before they formally start sessions next month. As our senior reporter Omondi Otieno now breaks it down.
Following the 2022 general elections, the parliament is now welcoming new faces ahead of the inception of the 13th parliament. Acting National Assembly clerk Sarah Kioko summoned the elected legislators for a two-day orientation and induction into the House operations. The orientation session included registration of the members, collection of biodata information, issuance of parliamentary identification cards, briefing on the use of chamber voting system, a tour of the parliament buildings, and briefings by the office of the clerk on essential legislative matters. The legislators of the 13th parliament expressed their gratitude to the electorates for entrusting them with the leadership positions. The MPs vowed to prioritize the interests of the citizens in the legislations to solve the myriad challenges affecting them. The issue of corruption, high cost of living, the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, which the Supreme Court declared illegal and unconstitutional, dominated the discourse.
You are found you are guilty of having done being corrupt, sentenced to death. I'll even move that motion, because that's the only way you are going to reduce corruption and eradicate corruption in this country. We have a problem with corruption from grassroots to whatever high offices.
I don't think there is anything that is so urgent that CDF has to be repealed or be removed from the statutes. So what they have to need to do maybe to say which sections of the CDF is not properly aligned with the constitution.
The first-time members of parliament who had an uphill task of convincing the electorates also vowed to have an exemplary service to the electorates, which will set a legacy and attract records in the upcoming political pursuits.
I want to focus on pushing the agenda for young people as a young person, and I want to build upon it. I believe a legacy is not something that you can work on overnight. It's something that takes a process, and that is something that I want to focus on to ensure that in future other young people do not perhaps face the hurdles that I have faced, or have it at least easier getting into parliament.
What we need to introduce on the floor of the House is a debate that can really have a friendly system of education, which is also affordable by parents. Parents are really suffering with this CBC education, and we need to consult very widely and then bring in a motion, or if it's not a motion, change the policy.
The newly elected leaders of the 13th Parliament made their ways to the National Assembly building ahead of their swearing and reopening of the House next month. The leaders have promised to fulfill the promises they made to the electorates in their leadership. Omondi Otieno, KUTV, Nairobi.
And away from the political arena, we now move to matters education. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has directed school administrations to report non-cooperating parents on fees payment to his office for immediate action. Speaking at Tambacha COG Day Mixed and Day Secondary School in Marani Sub-County, instructed principals to first communicate to parents of a settlement of fees instead of sending the learners home to collect the fee.
Speaking at Tambacha COG Day and Mixed Secondary School in Marani Sub-County, where he commissioned 2 CBC classrooms, Magoha issued a decree to principals wanting them to first contact parents for settlement of fees instead of having the students miss classes by sending them home.
But you have seen that in this particular sub-county we are now at 100%. From here we are going to Kisii Central, where we are going to commission several other classrooms. Then from there we shall go to Nyamira, and tomorrow we shall be in Western, in Nandi, and in Uasin Gishu.
He pointed out that parents were undergoing economic inevitable hardships, and majority of them will be positive on the fees payment if engaged in negotiations.
I just want to plead with our stakeholders that we continue really to support our children as we move towards the examination period, and that where you feel that a child has capacity to pay fees and is not paying, please engage the parents. We are now in an area of technology where I believe most of the parents have cell phones, and rather than asking the child to go home to collect the money.
He, however, directed school administration bodies to report parents that inhibit fees payments to his office for deliberate action to be taken against them. It is in that same breath that he gave 20 computers to the school after the school principal Amos Maroria had cited inadequate computers, among other learning infrastructure to facilitate computer studies, and commended the sub-county for attaining 100% in the provision of the facilities.
And on another educational errand, the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Professor George Magoha, today morning inspected and commissioned Phase 2 CBC classrooms at Senior Chief Maisa Nyandusi Kegati Secondary School and Tambacha COG Secondary School in Marani Sub-County, Kisii County. Magoha said that the Marani Sub-County has completed the construction of Phase 2 CBC classrooms at 100%. The CS advised school heads to prudently utilize capitation money to avoid sending learners away for fees.
You have seen that in this particular sub-county we are now at 100%. From here we are going to Kisii Central, where we are going to commission several other classrooms. Then from there we shall go to Nyamira. I just want to plead with our stakeholders that we continue really to support our children as we move towards the examination period, and that where you feel that a child has capacity to pay fees and is not paying, please engage the parents. We are now in an area of technology where I believe most of the parents have cell phones, and rather than asking the child to go home to collect the money, you can engage the parents, and like this morning, if the parent is not cooperating with you, you can escalate that to my officers in the field, and even as far as Jugo House.
You're still watching KUTV Primetime News. We are due our first break right here in the bulletin. We'll be back in a moment with more stories just for you.
Driving and riding without incidences on the road is such an amazing experience. But do you know while many road traffic crashes are avoidable, human behavior continues to be the leading cause. Speeding, lane indiscipline, drunk driving, distracted driving, failure to wear a helmet, and failure to use available pedestrian ways have been flagged by NTSA as the fatal 6 behaviors likely to lead to a fatal crash and serious injuries. As part of the Usalama Barabarani campaign, we request all road users to prevent these fatal Title 6 behaviors for their own safety and that of others. When driving, ensure your speed is within the stipulated limits, the road ahead is clear before overtaking. Stick to your lane, keep left unless carefully overtaking. You're well rested if driving on long distances, and you never drink and drive. Usalama barabarani starts with you. Fika Salama. This message is brought to you by the National Transport and Safety Authority and the European Union.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
The percentage in which government is giving opportunities to this specific type of groups under the AGPO, like what percentage has the government given?
No, but like I said, you see, when a budget is done for every year, every ministry will be able to place their budget for it. But whatever is given to them, 30% of the budget for that ministry is dedicated to AGPO. 30%. So if let's assume, for instance, that a ministry is given 2 billion, for instance. Now, 30% of 2 billion would be about 600,000? 600 million. That will be dedicated to AGPO. And therefore, when you go to a ministry, as a young person, as a person living with disability, 600 million is actually meant for you.
This is The Agenda with Benturo Komboka and Colonel Retired Cyrus Oguna.
To the Church Aklaksha. I'm your host, Esther Becky.
And my name is DJ Teros.
We start you off with a word of prayer and get you started with a live transformational worship experience. And have our minds renewed by the word of God on the word segment.
And not forgetting new music za hii wiki, yani ndakuwa bado nawapatia pale wasanii wamekuwa kiwakali. So make sure manzo tune in because zitakuwa zina flow pia pale mixes kwa wingi, yani zitakuwa zina come through, and pia performance yani from our gospel artist hapa on Gospel Art
from 7 to
10 a.m. only on KUTV.
Technology
science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient, and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the Retro Tech. On Technovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution, decoded in a language, all for one for all. Make a date with me, Samson Jura, every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
Welcome back to KUTV Primetime News, and let me also invite you to join us on the social media handles. We are at KUTV_Kenya on Twitter, KUTV Kenya on Facebook, KUTV Kenya on YouTube, where our technical team is ensuring we are streaming live. Now to the discussion of the day, the political cost. Change is always inevitable in any given society when striving to fulfill human needs. Leadership plays a very important role to cause meaningful change in the society. Economics is considered with studying and influencing the economy. Politics is the theory and practice of influencing people through the exercise of power. Since independence, Kenya has experienced succession of economic and political changes. Kenya ushered in a new political economic governance system with the passage of a new constitution in 2010 that introduced a bicameral legislative house, devolved county governments, and a constitutionally tenured judiciary, and also an electoral body. However, many economic issues are seen through the eyes of political beliefs. And this is the root of our discussion tonight, where I'm joined by a sharp eye in the economic sector, Isha Dunga, the CEO, Ecovest. Isha, welcome to our studio.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel.
And we have really to talk about this because we are in a political season, and we have to look at what are the impacts of this political situation to the whole economic agenda of our country, because we have goals to achieve, but what is it doing right now? So I'd like you to give me an overview, because you are a professional in this sector, of the relationship between the national atmosphere naturally and considering the matters of economy and the political atmosphere. What is the interrelationship?
First of all, thank you so much for this invite, and I want to take this opportunity to first of all congratulate those people that got the seats that they were looking for. It's not been a very easy way. Looking for political position in Kenya is one of the most expensive affair, and so far, congratulations to those people that actually succeeded. Secondly, elections are being carried out every 5 years in every 5 years in our country. And you must understand one thing, that after every 5 years, we have got a lot of plans that either must change or must shift direction because of the political temperatures that keep fluctuating in any given country, and notwithstanding our country, Kenya. Now, there is a very big nexus, a close nexus that is, between the political temperatures and the economic performance of a country. And I can tell you that I'm going to look at it in two fronts. The first one, during the times that we are carrying out an election or we are doing campaigns so that we can get into the voting exercise, you realize that politicians or the people that are looking for the various political posts are using a lot of money. In fact, research shows that in 2017, averagely a politician would be using 25 shillings per dollar, 25 shillings dollars per voter. That is the cost of campaign and elections in the country in 2017. As we speak currently, it has gone to $38. Now I want you to look at a situation in our country. We are having 22 million voters, and 22 million voters. If you have to spend, or if an amount of $38 is to be spent per voter, you can imagine such a huge amount of money. So in one way, the political situation enhances some sort of temporary cash flows in the country and circulation as well. So you realize that that injection of cash into the economy influences positively the economy. But then you can also, I'm also looking at it from the other end, whereby during the political seasons, at least 3 months before the election period, you realize that most of the investors are retracting from actually bringing the investments. You realize that most companies are trying to reduce the activity rate at which they can be able to to do their businesses because of that anxiety of the elections. And so because of that, we realize that a lot of money circulation is also still denied to circulate from the economy. And therefore, in these two fronts, it is even much worse when the latter is exercised more. When we realize that many companies are retracting from investing, many foreign investors are actually withholding their investments, tourists are not coming. You remember there was even a travel advisory given against visiting Kisumu. And therefore, if at all these investors or these tourists were to visit Kisumu, you see now there is a reduced activity in the economy. So it is in two fronts. First of all, the cash being injected into the economy, as well as now the retracted cash flows that are as a result of the anxiety that comes there. But the latter has got a more worse effect. So in the overall sense, what I can say is that political temperatures has got a negative influence in the economy as compared to probably any kind of improvements. Yeah.
And when you're talking about the whole challenge of the charges that come for anyone who's seeking office. Now I'm looking at it from the fact that right now we have had an election. We have a petition which is at the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But the business environment has to move on, because however much we have to sort out the political part, we also have to look at the financial part, because Kenya has relationships with other nations. It is actually a hub for trade even within the East African community.
Sure.
Now, Isha, looking at this factor of finances being a very key thing, even at right now as the narrative flows that we are having tough times.
Yes.
The narrative is there. But I'm looking at it, are we not in a position to even try and ensure we have even sort of legislation that can be able to maybe protect the whole environment of the country even through the elective exercise? Is it that we have a problem as a culture of people who do not really consider or rather do not prioritize what comes first? Because we are looking at politics. It is the fact of we are moving someone from power, someone else in power, or we are actually retaining someone in power. All these people are supposed to actually further the agenda of the common mwananchi. Is the mwananchi really keen concerning the fact that in real sense, the one who pushes the whole wheel of the economy is the mwananchi? Because when it comes to taxes, to pay even these leaders, it comes from the common mwananchi. So when the mwananchi is actually focused on the political aspect, while negating the whole financial situation of the country, not looking at the economy, do you think we are blindsided as a people?
One thing I would be able to say that you put the question in a long sentence, such that I'm just trying to get to understand what you're asking, but then assuming that I've gotten you very well. When the election comes, the common mwananchi sometimes diverts their attention to whatever they are going to get from that elections, as opposed to the reality of what the election is going to bring. And that one, sometimes you realize that people become more focused on to what the leader is going to give them during the times of the campaigns, as opposed to what is the leader going to offer on the table while taking that position that they are taking. I want to bring into your attention that this particular type of election is one of the elections that is an eye-opener. If you look at each and every person that was competing for any particular posts, the leader or the winner of any particular post actually defeated the person that follows him or the first runners up closely, such that you would realize that the competition was so stiff. It means the agenda that people were having on the table were more or less the same, such that people were trying to look at who is now a better leader compared to maybe the past history or the way this person presents himself and how he also thinks that he can be able to deliver the people in the promises that he's talking about. So yes, the community might or the citizens might be blindfolded against looking at the right things in a leader. But I can tell you that going forward, as we have seen, the close competitions we have seen in the various levels of the elective positions has proved beyond every reasonable doubt that people are starting to question, number one, the integrity of the leaders, number two, the genuinity of the leaders, number three, the historical facts about these leaders, and then the viability of their promises based on the constitution and also on the reality. That is why you are seeing that people are having very close competition. So I want to say that going forward, in fact, it's going to even be more transparent and better in 2027. The election will be based on ideas and ideas only. It will not be a blindfolding sort of an affair whereby, you know, it is this community versus that community, or it is us versus them, or it is those people who are up versus those who are down. No, it is going to be idea-based competition, idea-based election.
Now, Dunga,
yeah,
let me bring it back to the economic front. This is where you are a professional, actually, and I'm looking at the fact of corruption. Corruption because it has been actually highlighted on the leaders. Political leaders, corrupt. That's usually the narrative that is going about. But Dunga, I want to know, how much can these people steal? Is it to say that politicians can actually be able to rip off the country to a point that the country is actually on its knees? Is it possible?
Yes. And let me tell you, let me give you a very practical example. At some point when President Uhuru Kenyatta was addressing the nation in a certain local radio station, he said that Kenya is losing 2 billion shillings a day on corruption. And I want to tell you that research has showed it. In fact, according to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Kenya is losing about 608 billion to 722 a year. Now, I want you to look at it from this perspective, that for you to build a well-furnished teaching and referral hospital in the country, you need about 6.2 billion. And a case of this, I'm taking the teaching and referral hospital in Kakamega. I hope you know about it, the one that has been built by Oparanya there. It costs 6.2 billion. Now, if you're losing 722 billion Kenya shillings every single year, how many teaching and referrals hospitals are we able to build in a year that the money is being taken through corruption? 60 of them, and I mean it, 60. Can you imagine of a country with each and every county having a teaching and referral hospital, well furnished, with drugs, with everything? How much do you think of this country is going to be ranked in terms of development? Look at the Thika Super Highway during the time that Kibaki commissioned this highway. It was constructed at a cost of 32 billion. And how many kilometers is it? Now look at the kind of economic revolution the Thika Highway has brought along that belt from Nairobi to Kiambu, cutting across to Murang'a. It is quite massive. Now 32 billion. How many 32 billions are there in 700? You get it? It is almost 20. So we can be able to build 20 of such Thika super highways in a year. That money is lost through corruption. So I mean that yes, politicians through corruption can bring down the economy. And I want to tell you, our economy has reached this level. Partly, I can say authoritatively, without a shadow of a doubt, that 40 to 50% is due to corruption. 40 to 50% due to corruption. If at all that money that was being lost through pilferages could be, channeled back to the economy for constructive works, then truly speaking, I'm telling you that Kenya would become, one of the most developed countries in East and Central Africa as a whole in the next 5 years.
Indeed, Dunga, I'm getting the factorization now from you.
Yeah.
And actually, it has brought about a factor we actually talked about some time back concerning debt management.
Yeah.
And there's something you told me about discipline and money.
Yes.
Now, I'm looking at this factor because right now we actually have quite the debt.
Mm.
Even the ceiling has been actually raised several times.
Yes.
And looking at the Kenyan culture, is it that our money discipline is actually lacking, or do we lack the ethical capital to actually manage this money that we have? Because if we can be able to lose 772 billion in a year,
Yes.
we have money.
We have.
It means we have money.
We do.
And looking at the debt burden that we have, it means you can be able to actually do something concerning this. So my question is this, on your own financial advisory, is it that we lack the ethical capital to actually manage what we have?
I think we cannot say that we do lack. I come back to the previous question that you asked about is corruption able to bring down an economy to its knees? I can be able to tell you that going by whatever the kind of money that we are having, can you imagine, ask yourself one question. If we can be able to lose 722 billion every single year, and imagine this life is still continuing like it is. Just imagine if we can lose that amount of money and life still continues the way it is. So suppose this money was inside here, what kind of development do you think we will be having? But then back to what you're asking now. Do we lack that ethic or the discipline of the capital management or this, or there is something else? One, each and every government comes with its own agenda. And in the agenda, 30% is to be able to is to be fulfilled by this government, and 60% is interest oriented. So when you see anybody, campaigning out there, they say that politics is about interest. So it means that, and that interest is one of the dominating factors, even though no one states it. Why do you think we are having a lot of people crossing from one particular coalition to another? It is because of interest. And I can tell you that that interest is one of the dominating factors that makes it difficult for the real agenda of the country to be achieved. So yes, we can say that we have the money, but we do not have the goodwill in order to satisfy. The goodwill that can be able to make the leaders satisfy the promises that they made to the people. Instead, one would argue out this way. I used about, let's say, 150 million to campaign for the position of the governor. And it is a matter of, trying to check the balances of gains. You do what we call cost-benefit analysis. Once I have used 150 million, then what is it that is inside there for me? And you see, if my salary is about 700,000 as a governor, if you multiply 700,000 in a year by 12, that one comes to almost how much? About 8.9 million, or thereabout, or let's say 9.6 million. So 9.6 million multiplied by 5, that comes to barely 50 million. And this person used 150 million to campaign to get that position. Question: where else was this person supposed to recover this money? Because at the end of the day, it has to be recovered. That's the reality. Yes. So where else is this person supposed to recover this money from? He has to recover it through any means, either through exaggerations, through flawed procurement projects, through ghost workers, through any means that is falling under the bracket of corruption. That is why we have to come back to the previous question, that whether corruption can bring people to the knees. And I want to tell you that there are so many counties that would have gone ahead in terms of development, but because the people that were put there were having that kind of an attitude of recovering what they used, there is nothing that has remained of such counties. So that's why I need to tell you that yes, we can be able to say we have a lot of money, but we lack the goodwill. That ethical capital, we do not have it. We do not have that ability to satisfy what the people want. But if we do, then 30% is what actually goes to satisfy that. But I want to give abundance of caution that this year, moving forward to the 5 years, the politicians that achieved the seats that they achieved, they have been able to see the kind of sweat they had to undergo in order to get those seats. And they've seen the kind of stiff competitions. And therefore, they are out there to show that they are worth it. So they must be able to work hard. They must be able to show the country that they meant what they said and they said what they meant.
Dunga, politics is about interests. Interests in the political arena seemingly seem to cost the mwananchi.
Yes.
And interest in the economic aspect would actually benefit the mwananchi. So there is a conflict here. And I'm trying to put it in my mind in that when you're looking at matters of forwarding your interests as a politician, every 5 years, we actually go through a transition, the elective process, which means other leaders will come in several areas. And maybe a certain leader had a certain agenda they were forwarding.
Yes.
But when a different power now takes over, you find that such an agenda is maybe countered or stalled. And in the event, what will be cost will be taxpayers' money, the first thing, because if the project began and it was stalled midway, that is money lost.
Exactly.
Now, looking at this factor from the benefiting the mwananchi aspect, how can we make sure that when a project is begun, it is actually taken to fruition? Because I believe if all leaders who seek office, their main agenda is to benefit the mwananchi, how can we ensure that even the project that this team actually came up with, projected maybe to the National Assembly and pushed it forward as an agenda that can actually benefit the mwananchi, is not stalled because another power comes into the high office and is actually now pulling back all the gains of the other power in the name of affirming their own power.
Exactly. I think this is a very key element in our discussion. You realize that, and I have a very good example in the county that I reside in. You realize that the previous governor before the one that was re-elected, had started developing the stadia. There were two of them. And because the new governor came, he was having this kind of a feeling that this particular type of development is associated with the previous governor for whom we were competitors, and therefore I'm not going to continue with with his projects. And so because of that, you see, this is two bulls fighting, but the person who is suffering is the common man. And therefore, I would want to bring it categorically in terms of advice that each and every county should ideally have either a 10, 15 or 20-year strategic plan, which each and every leadership that comes on board should be judged according to that plan that we are having. Like in our country, we had got a plan of 2030. That is the vision that we were looking at our country in the next do I can be able to say 8 years, what we ought to have achieved in terms of our development agenda. And so that can or should be cascaded down to the various counties, so that each and every counties should also be able to have their own agenda in the next 20 or 30 years, so that it becomes something that is solidly cemented and entrenched in our constitution as well as our policies, such that when you're coming in as a new leader, you're not going to come up with some sort of developments that are outside the plan. And this type of plans and implementations, when followed very strictly, I'm telling you, we are not going to have any stalled projects. But this thing is disturbing us, even in the national level. We have had the various campaigns that were going on, even in the presidential campaigns. One faction was saying that I am going to abandon all these other big projects that the current government has started, because they are becoming so much of financial intensive, they are capital intensive. So I'm going to abandon them. On the other hand, another faction is saying that I am going to continue with the programs that the current government had already begun, so that we can be able to finish. So the question is, who is right? Either of them is right. But then, what do you think benefits the common mwananchi? Whatever benefits the common mwananchi is that common ground of acceptance of whatever is important for the development and the prosperity of a nation through its citizens. For which we can be able to say that whether the continuation of the various programs or the abandonment of those such programs, what is important is the prosperity of each and every Kenyan through the various adopted programs. So I can be able to say that let us have a unified agenda and an agenda that is entrenched in the policy and constitution, that each and every leader that is coming up must be able to adopt such and develop it according to the dictates of the constitution. Yeah.
Well taken, Dunga. In fact, I hope some legislators who are coming into office are actually taking part in this conversation and actually seeing what you're saying, because it is knowledge that is being poured out here.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm going to ask you this because another matter I actually wanted to highlight is considering the subsidies. We had a subsidy on fuel.
Yes.
And when it expired, we had some issues. It has come back. It is still something that is actually pacifying the cost of fuel. We had a subsidy on unga prices for around 4 weeks. After that, the prices went north again. So my question is this. These subsidies that the regimes in power, which is actually the political muscle, decides to actually give the common mwananchi, to relieve them of the prices of things that are going about. Are these subsidies things that could also blinden the common mwananchi of the true nature of the economy as it is? Because I'm imagining a situation where the economy is plummeting, but because we have several subsidies here and there on the most common items on the consumer price index, we have like the mwananchi is kind of blindsided because the economy is actually going south. But because these things are not as costly as they actually should be, because usually we find like even the last, with now the way we are seeing mwananchi actually grieving and actually complaining because of the whole challenges that are coming economically, we are seeing that everything that is happening to the common mwananchi is because they are feeling the pinch when they go to the shelves. When they go to fuel, they find there's a challenge there. They go to buy food, they find a challenge there. But with subsidies, because however much they relieve, are there a silver bullet that is also going to impact negatively on mwananchi realizing the situation as it is economically?
I think I love that question so much, and maybe this is an opportunity that I can be able to take to educate the common mwananchi as well as some of the policy makers in our country. Now, when we talk about subsidies, we are talking about a particular product is supposed to cost up an amount. For example, let's take, for example, fuel. Fuel is supposed to be costing currently about 179 for the super petrol. But then the government is paying around 20 shillings or so per liter in order to make sure that the price of the fuel is reduced to some level so that it doesn't become heavier for the common mwananchi. In fact, currently the government is using about 7.39 billion Kenya shillings on subsidies for fuel every month. Even subsidies on fertilizers. There are even subsidies on unga. There are several subsidies. But I think, in my honest professional opinion, that use of subsidies as a way of controlling the perception of the people into the economy is a wrong way to go. Because where do the government get the subsidy?
From the mwananchi.
It is from the tax. So it is the government takes the tax and then use the tax in making some payments so that you can get this product. But this product that he is subsidizing has got tax elements into it. You get it, eh? So instead of going into the subsidy way by liquidating and taking the cash that you've collected from the mwananchi to give it back in form of subsidy, but then again, this money at some point are being repatriated back, because if you look at what is being subsidized, if you look at the fuel, the energy sector, you realize that some of the big stakeholders are not locals. They are foreigners. And some of this money are being repatriated. Even in as much as it is being used for subsidy, it is being repatriated back. So subsidy is one of the wrong way to go. I can't say the worst, but it is not a very good way to go. What the government ought to do is to try to manipulate the amount of the cost of the taxes that are coming with this particular product, so that the taxation can enable the standardization of such prices. If the government can be able to play with the taxes, that is one way in which the government can be able to control the pricing as opposed to giving subsidy. That is one. Two, Suppose we are talking about 7.3 billion Kenya shillings on fuel as a subsidy every month. And then you check. Fuel is a factor of production. So it affects all the, all the products. And once the production costs has gone high, you will realize that the common mwananchi will feel that pinch in as much as the government is trying to control the cost of fuel through subsidy. But however, what about if you take it this way? And I'm talking about my professional opinion. If you took it this way, that if the government will take the 7.3 billion and then look for the vulnerable people within the community and then give them this money in form of cash in order to boost their purchasing power, so that however much the prices shall have increased, the kind of purchasing power that has been given to them makes them neutralize that kind of a feeling, and in some way also stimulate a growth into the economy, because injection of cash by the government into the economy is a stimulus is a stimulus in nature. It spurs certain type of growth, and especially if that money finds its way into the poor person, into the community, into the vulnerable person, the people that are living below $1, then that money will really be circulating. When you go to Kibera, you give it maybe 10,000 shillings to a household. The 10,000 shillings will be distributed within Kibera in less than 10 minutes. Everybody will be feeling an effect of that. And I'm giving an example of that nature because we're looking at, where a specific type of, community with their income actually occupy. If you go to Garissa, for example, you give that money, each and every citizen around there is getting, let's say, 5,000 Kenya shillings every month. Their purchase power shall be increased, and that is stimulus in nature. So I'm just trying to think professionally and in my opinion that the government should have actually removed the subsidies, let the cost go high, but then let's have a real view of what the economy is all about. And then lastly, economy cannot be measured in terms of how much a product costs only. There are certain parameters. There is the productivity of the people. There is about the GDP, the total cost of, the total income of everyone. There is a lot of aspects. And as we speak now, in as much as we say that the cost of items has gone up, are you aware that the economy has grown by 5.6%? It doesn't look like, right? But the economy has grown. And using the parameters of the measurements of the economic growth, it indicates of the same. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that if you look at the economy in terms of the price increase only, then it might be a very bad idea. What about if you look at it from the increase in the purchase power of the community? Then the price of unga of 200 shillings, if each and every person would be able to get the 10,000 shillings every month, then the price of 200 shillings will not be something.
And Dunga, I have to ask you this.
Yeah.
Currently, the inflation rate is at 8.3%.
Of course.
Would such a measure be able to counter this current effect?
Well, because of that, it is having now an overall negative effects, because look at the inflation and the economic growth. It has flowed that. So in other words, yes, it is having an effect, because the purchase power has already been reduced by almost 3-point-something percentage points. And so it is making it quite difficult for the common mwananchi or any other person out there to be able to afford the basic items that they would have afforded previously. And so because of that, truly speaking, it is making a little bit difficult. But then relating it with the subsidy thing, if that money would be injected into the economy through direct cash transfers, then it would actually have a sort of a neutralizing effect into the economy with regards to that inflation.
The political cost, Ndugu.
Yes.
Now we have to finalize because of matters of time.
Sure.
But you're going to still guide me on one last thing.
All right.
772 billion lost in a year.
Yeah.
We have subsidies here and there. An inflation rate of 8.3%.
Exactly.
The tight economic times that we have as a country, is this a perception or a reality that has been measured? Is it that we are getting a perception that we are in hard times, or we are actually the ones who are part of the hard times?
Well, just like I've explained before, truth be said, we are in hard times because the inflation has really gone up, and the inflation has been influenced by several factors. Number one, you realize that there is a low cash supply compared to the purchase power of the people. He realized that the kind of problems that are bedeviled the country, has made the prices of items go up, partly because of the reasons that we all know, globally and also locally. But then, truth be said, is that we cannot explicitly bring it down and say that we are in a hard time and it is a reality through a measured concept. Because, well, everybody is complaining, but who is everybody? Everybody has not come here to tell you that they are having a hard feeling. Although we can be able to sample and say that we are having hard times. But then truth be said is that this hard time might be very difficult to measure. Again, there are certain parameters of measuring the concept of the economic growth and the economic performance to a point whereby we can be able to say that the economy has grown, but yet people are still feeling the hard time. So the question is, what makes people feel the hard time when the economy is performing? We can look at it from this perspective, that there could be certain infrastructural developments that have attracted a lot of foreign and direct investments, which is also forming part of the economic measure of its performance. But then, how is this translating into the very lowest person there, so that they can have a feeling that they are getting the economic performance of a country to be in a positive trend? It is very difficult because whoever uses the road, whoever feels the importance of the road, and then how these things are going to influence the common mwananchi is a slow process. It's a slow but sure. So these capitalistic developments are true a measure of economic growth. But when it comes to the translation, the real translation into the common mwananchi's pocket, then it becomes a problem. So in other words, what I'm saying is that at one point it can be a perception that the economy is not, that the economy is doing well, but in the reality, it is not doing well. On the other hand, it can be true that the parameters of measurements that have been used to measure the economic performance are not that one that are directly linked to the feeling of the common mwananchi, which can be able to make him say that now the economy is performing well. Question is, if you walk out there, can everybody or can 10 people that you meet say that we are doing well? I'm doing well. I am okay. No. Everybody is feeling the pinch. So it means something has not been measured correctly in order to give the correct view of how the economy is performing.
The political cost right there.
Sure.
Now, viewers, that is Isha Dunga, CEO Ecovest, giving us a breakdown of the whole economic situation, the political cost that we are undergoing as Kenyans because of the political environment. Now, going further to matters of politics, except the town in Kakamega and Mombasa, which are yet, except the counties of Mombasa and Kakamega, which are yet to be revealed by voters who will be the governors in those particular areas, 45 governors all over the country were today sworn into office, taking their first step into the office of the governor of the respective counties officially.
Elected county bosses and their deputies were sworn in at the ceremonies held in their respective counties. This is after Kenyans made their voices heard through the ballot on the August 9th polls. Newly inaugurated Murang'a County Governor Irongo Kang'ata took his oath of office and has promised to ensure that he will have people well qualified and experienced to serve as the county executive members and chief officers.
I know we are celebrating today, but I would want us to celebrate more when we are fulfilling the things that we promised you.
Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti was sworn in to become the county's second governor in the presence of outgoing Governor Alfred Mutua, who expressed confidence that she will serve the people diligently.
I, Honorable Wavinya Ndeti, do swear that I shall always, truly and diligently serve the people and the Republic of Kenya in the office of the Governor of Machakos County.
I'm very pleased to witness the swearing in of Governor Ndeti as the second governor of Machakos after my successful 2 terms as the first governor. I congratulate you. I am pleased that more women are getting into positions of executive power. And that is how it should be. half of the voters in this country are women. We need more women in power, especially executive power.
James Orengo was sworn in as governor of Siaya and thanked residents of the region for coming out in droves to exercise their democratic right.
I want to tell the people of Siaya, you have given us a great responsibility. You have done your bit by going to the election booth and voting for Duol and myself. Now the responsibility is ours. The responsibility is ours. We will not disappoint you.
Sakaja Arthur Johnson, do swear that I shall always truly and diligently serve the people and the Republic of Kenya.
Pomp and color filled KICC as Johnson Sakaja was sworn in as Nairobi's new governor. With the president-elect William Ruto present, Sakaja assured Nairobians that there was a new sheriff in town and that he intends to fulfill all the promises he made.
This work begins today, the 25th of August. And more than ever, I'm convinced we will get there, not because the journey is easy, not because there are secrets or magic words to live in Nairobi, but because we will do it together. Everybody has a place at the table of Nairobi.
Female governors such as Susan Kihika of Nakuru and Anne Waiguru of Kirinyaga County were also sworn in, with Kihika promising to prioritize development for the people of Nakuru by reviving the multi-billion Itare Water Dam, and Waiguru promising to continue with Kirinyaga's transformational journey to ensure people will enjoy productivity through maximum realization of Kirinyaga's potential for sustained economic, social and political development.
The completion in line with the Intergovernmental Act, I shall engage the national government to ensure we get a contractor to complete the Itare Dam, as well as enter into negotiations with Baringo County for supply of water from Chamasusu Dam. Itare Dam will provide water for Kuresoi North and South, Njoro, Molo, and Nakuru Town, East and West.
My focus shifts to putting in place a robust cabinet that will assist me in ensuring there is seamless service delivery to the people of Kirinyaga. Our priority will be to ensure speedy completion of our ongoing projects, even as we embark on new ones lined up in line with our transformation agenda for the county.
Other governors who were sworn in include Benjamin Cheboy, Baringo, Hilary Barchok, Bomet, Wesley Rotich, Elgeyo Marakwet, Kawira Mwangaza, Meru, Cecily Mbarire, Embu, Eric Mutai, Kiricho, Kimani Wamatangi, Kiambu, Fatuma Achani, Kwale, Joshua Irongo, Laikipia, Stephen Sang, Nandi, Patrick Olentutu, Narok, Moses Kiari, Nyandarua, Mutahi Kahiga, Nyeri, Jonathan Lati, Samburu, Mudhomi Njuki, Tharaka Nithi, Jonathan B. Uasin Gishu, Simon Kachapin, West Pokot, Abdi Hassan, Isiolo, Lusaka Kenneth, Bungoma, Amos Nyaribo, Nyamira, George Natembea, Trans Nzoia, Timami Isa, Lamu, Andrew Mwadaim, Taita Taveta, Mwangaza Kawera, Meru, Mungaro Maitha, Kilifi, Dhadho Gadae, Tana River, Adan Nathif, Garissa, Abdullahi Muhammad, Wajir, Muhammad Adan, Mandera, Julius Malobe, Kitui, Mutula Kilonzo, Makueni, Jeremiah Ekamais, Turukana, Otichilo Wilba, Vihiga, Paul Otuoma, Busia, Gladys Wanga, Homa Bay, Anyang' Nyong'o, Kisumu, Ochilo Ayako, Migori, and Simba Arati, Kisii. Residents of Mombasa and Kakamega counties remain patient as they await Monday, August 29th to elect their governors, as gubernatorial elections in those regions were postponed due to issues with the ballot papers. Irongo Kagodha, KUTV, Nairobi.
Oh, and it's time to get sporty now. After the group stage phase in the national women's netball team now shift focuses to classification matches in search of position 5 to 9. The Divas ended their final match of group stages in style after securing a 52-36 win over Eswatini in their last group match at the ongoing 2023 World Cup qualifiers in Pretoria, South Africa. Kenya's hopes of making it to the global showpiece faded away, suffering defeats against Zambia and Malawi in their first two Group B matches. Now, current Kenya Basket Federation Women League leaders and FIBA Africa Zone 4 champions KPA will be hoping to continue with the unbeaten run of 7 matches played so far when the league resumes on the 28th of August this year. Now, at the same time, the KBF Women Premier League defending champions who topped the league with 14 points will seek to defend their title when they grace Zone 5 club championships set for September the 26th to October the 1st in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Naturally, with a 3-point overall, it's looking a bit dark now because their main players are being fouled out. I mean, they get drawing fouls from Massey. So
the defending English Premier League champions Manchester City will face Chelsea in the English League Cup ties in the last 32 leg that is set to kick off on November the 8th and 9th and 10th of this year. Other matches on the card will see Arsenal face Brighton, Albion, Nottingham Forest will take on Tottenham, Wolves will play host to Leeds United, while Everton travel to Bournemouth. Manchester United will welcome Aston Villa at Old Trafford. Derby County will travel to Anfield to square it out with Liverpool, while Leicester City will entertain Newport County at King Power Stadium. Well, a fine hour it has been of the KU TV Thursday night primetime news. Thank you for your valued company through the broadcast, and we hope you have actually been informed concerning everything, even with our discussion tonight on the political cost. A lot has been happening here, and we appreciate. And I appreciate also the whole team involved in the production of this broadcast. Bravo. My name is Emmanuel Kutosi, and in the sign language interpretation, I was moving through with Moses Gitonga. Thank you so much for keeping it KU TV, and have a pleasant night.